Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good Monday afternoon. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you on what is a beautiful day outside. Hopefully your weekend was a nice one. We had some pretty decent weather overall, still a little bit cooler, but I do have some seasonal temperatures to talk about this afternoon. Plus, we are going to be talking about that apple crop. We've been talking to some of our local orchards to see how conditions have been for them so far this season. And we're also going to be looking at some video of a lunar eclipse that happened last night in parts of the world. Here, unfortunately, we were not in the zone, but we are still going to look at it because it's always some exciting stuff to kind of see what's happening out there in the space world. But this afternoon, we are, as I had mentioned, just enjoying that sunshine that we have outside. Here's a live look in Bertrand where we have beautiful blue skies. There isn't really a lot of cloud cover outside, so it is absolutely beautiful if you do want to go and maybe hit the orchards a little bit early. I know that it has been a little bit drier here, but also we've had some cooler air come in for the season. So since we have seen our conditions to be not so ideal at times for a lot of our apple farmers, we did have our very own James Felton. He went out to a local orchard last week. So I'm going to share his story with you here on the desk.
The chill in the air means apple orchards will soon be packed with You Pick patrons. So how is this year's crop looking? TV5's James Felton went out to Lehman's Green Apple Barn in Saginaw County to find out. James.
It sounds like Mother Nature cooperated with this year's apple crop in Michigan.
Hey, the apple crop is expected to fare pretty good this year.
John Lehman of Lehman's Green Apple Barn tells me while it won't be a record crop, it will be a good harvest of apples this year here and at other apple orchards across Michigan.
We had a wonderful spring. We didn't have any late freezes that did any damage.
Lehman tells us it feels good to say that.
Because we have had a couple of springs recently with the late frosts that have been kind of scary. But everything's turned out okay, so we feel good.
Lehman grows 20 different varieties of apple on his farm. He says the harvest, depending on the type of apple, begins in mid to late August and runs into the first week of November. With that in mind, he hopes the weather will continue to cooperate.
The apples like to have nice sunny days and cool nights. That seems to help them ripen and color well, so we could use that. Last fall, if you remember, in September, we had some 90-degree weekends, and we would like to avoid that. We like the nice sunny days, but cool nights.
Lehman tells me the apples are trending towards ripening later than usual, so call ahead to make sure the type of apple you're looking for is available. Back to you.
We appreciate James going and getting that story put together. Of course, a lot of us are now just thinking about getting out there to the local orchard. So we do have some really nice weather if you want to go, especially if that variety of apple that you're looking for is in and already ready to get kind of ate up here for the season. So I know I'm looking forward to some of that fall-like weather once we get a little bit deeper into September, but we've already had kind of a taste of fall. But we will see that it makes it maybe a little bit easier to get transition into that school time frame. I do want to share with you our conditions for the after school forecast as we kind of dive into the conditions that we're working with. You will see that that sunshine is going to hold here for after school practice. Maybe you have pickup duty today. We will still have temperatures that are going to be into the mid 60s. It's been a little bit cooler, and after the chilly start that we had, I'm not surprised to see our conditions kind of struggle a little bit to warm up. I'm actually going to pull up some of the low temperatures that we saw this morning. In Saginaw, we did have 40 degrees. I wouldn't be surprised though if we did have some locations that were closer towards 38 degrees. We do have 37 in Flint. We have 34 in Alma and 31 in Houghton Lake. Now, just a reminder, we did have that frost advisory for Clare, Roscommon, Ogama counties. That came in last night. Hopefully you had the First Alert weather app going. I know I had that push alert come in. So make sure that you have that app. You can scan the QR code right here to stay on top of the conditions and those advisories and warnings as they come in. But with us seeing 31 and clear skies, I anticipate that we did have some frost, and that of course can kind of limit and kind of stall out the growing season across Roscommon, Ogama, and even Clare counties. So we don't necessarily have all of our sensors that are able to pull that data, but even into the thumb, you can see Bad Axe and Carroll recorded 35 this morning, and then it's just along the shoreline. Port Hope was able to hold on to 43, but we still saw quite a few 40s here through across the shoreline. So it definitely was a cooler morning for a lot of us, and that's why this afternoon we are finding our temperatures just kind of sitting into the 60s. So if you are hoping to maybe go to the park, because it does look beautiful outside, I don't blame you. I want to be outside and soak in as much sunshine as we can, and of course sunglasses, ball cap. You kind of know the drill at this point here at the end of summer. But still, it is going to be a little bit cooler. So if you're going to be going for a walk, you're going to find that maybe it's a t-shirt or just a long sleeve shirt kind of day. But it is going to be beautiful if you're going to go to the many local parks that we have. So it is going to be a pretty nice afternoon. Taking a look at our temperatures outside, as I had mentioned, we're going to try to get closer towards 70 degrees, but it looks like we are still struggling this morning, really kind of giving us a backward start to the day. So we are going to have to make up a lot of ground here. We're currently sitting at 63 in Saginaw. We have 64 in Flint, same for Oscoda, 68 in Clare, 65 in Mount Pleasant. We have 64 in Houghton Lake. So considering we were down around freezing and we're up to 64, not too bad. The sun is doing the trick a little bit, but it's not really doing all that well as getting us to those numbers that we should typically see at this point in the season. We are currently at 60 degrees in Port Sanilac and 61 for Port Hope and into Harbor Beach. Now, as I had mentioned, for the season where we should be, this morning when we saw some 30s and some 40s, we should typically be talking about low temperatures that should be closer towards the mid 50s in Houghton Lake around 48. So we were way off track this morning with the clear skies and the lighter winds. So that's why we are struggling to get our highs to be to seasonal levels today too. As I mentioned, we're going to try to make a run for 70 degrees. We may even fall short of that. We should typically be seeing numbers around the mid 70s at this point in September. So we do have those numbers coming up, but you're going to find that's just not where we are at for today. When I look at what we are expecting here for the rest of the week, I have highs that are going to be into the mid to upper 70s. So this is a little bit more in line. This is where we should be, but you are going to see today just a little bit cooler, trying to get into the 70s. So it is going to be some nice weather ahead. As far as the sunshine to go along with it, you will see that we do have sunny skies today. Today could be the brightest day that we have. Tuesday still isn't bad, but just a handful of clouds are going to be around. And then Wednesday, we do have just a very weak front that comes through, so that can be bringing us the chance for a little more cloud cover. Right now we do have partly cloudy skies, but we may need to bump that back to mostly cloudy. You can kind of see we're hovering down into those gray conditions, but Thursday we rebound with a mix of some clouds and some sunshine. I'm also watching Friday too to see how well that shapes out, because the weekend forecast is going to dictate what we see on Friday. So right now we are keeping it dry, but you may find that we need to increase that cloud cover. But right now we are looking at least more sun rather than cloud cover as we wrap up this week. As we take a look outside using our sky trackers, so this is going to be pulling satellite data, you'll see a lot of us really don't have those clouds overhead. We've seen just a few fair weather clouds develop across the shoreline of the thumb, but those are not bringing us any rain chances. And those are just fair weather clouds. We're seeing them off into Canada as well. And then towards our west, we also have some showers, or excuse me, clouds, no showers with those, but just some clouds. And so those are kind of making our skies a little bit more murky, a little bit closer towards Houghton Lake. Actually, if you head to the First Alert weather app, I did send out a cam tour about an hour or so ago, and you'll see the cloudy skies that we had in Houghton Lake. It's not nearly as bright as what we're experiencing in other locations, but thankfully, we do not have a lot of rainfall that's going to be coming along with this forecast. And even this week, it's fairly quiet as well. Now, before we get into a little bit of that rain talk and how that's going to be shaping up for the weekend, we are going to take a real quick break to reset, and we'll be right back in about 60 seconds. Welcome back. Now, we were talking about a dry forecast here in mid-Michigan, and you are going to see that we continue to see dry weather. I do have our graphic loaded up here. Oh, let's actually bring that up. There we go. We are going to see that we don't have any rain chances here for this week, so it is going to be a nice week to get outside and enjoy still maybe a little bit of boating. Also just going to those orchards. We were talking about apples just a little bit ago, so it's nice and easy. It's also very much appreciated for some of the after school games that we have, or even just waiting at the bus stop in the morning or getting home from school, that we don't have to worry about rainfall to get us there. So we are happy to report a drier forecast. Speaking of the bus stops, tomorrow morning we anticipate to see some of our temperatures still back into the 40s. So this is still yet one of our cooler nights that we have. I don't anticipate it being as chilly as what we had last night, but we are still going to find that we are below average. As I mentioned, a lot of our readings should still at least be into the 50s. So we are going to be into the 40s as we still are going to be keeping fairly clear skies. So that really allows a lot of that heat that we have here during the day for that to start to escape. So we are going to see that it is yet cooler. If you've been holding out on turning on the furnace, you may have to break down here. But if you're looking for a little bit of relief and hoping not to, take a look at the 7-day forecast. We have lows. Though tonight they are still going to be into the 40s, we are going to find that they do bump back into the 50s. So I know that's when a lot of you say, hey, I really like sleeping with the windows open. When it's into the 50s, it's just very comfortable. I can snuggle up with a blanket. So you are going to have some pretty good sleeping weather here. It'll also be dry, so you won't have to worry about any rainfall coming into those windows. And you can see we still have a really nice forecast, a lot of sunshine here. Wednesday, as I had mentioned, we may need to add a little more cloud cover in just because of that weak but dry boundary going to be setting up. But overall, we are going to find it's very easy to get outside, nice and dry. As we look towards the weekend, we do have some rain chances. Now, this forecast is a little bit unsettled just because the weather pattern that we're in right now, it starts to break down. So we have to answer the question of when will it break down? How quickly does that happen? So we will be watching to see how this plays out for weekend events. I know that we are going to have Michigan, they're home. Michigan State is home. So we are going to find that a lot of you may be tailgating this weekend, trying to go to some of the games. And so we are going to hopefully have then some drier weather for those tailgates, but we are at least going to find that it's a little bit warmer. We've had quite a spell here of football weather temperature-wise, but we are going to see that we have those mid to upper 70s coming here during the week, topping at 80 degrees on Saturday and still 79 on Sunday. So even with those rain chances, it doesn't really seem to hinder our numbers. So it looks like we're kind of getting back to where we should be here for September. So though it's been a little bit cool here at the end of August and also going into early September, here in the middle of the month, that pattern kind of starts to break and we get a little bit closer towards where we should be at this point in the season. Of course, as I had promised, there also is some fun weather happenings, or really kind of some space happenings coming across the country. I do want to share with you this video coming in. So we did have a lunar eclipse last night. So this was actually in Europe, Asia, and Africa. So stargazers were able to enjoy the blood moon. So again, this was Sunday night, and for some of us, early Monday morning. Now, this was not visible here into the United States. But mainly when you have that lunar eclipse, it's when the sun and the earth and the moon, they all line up. And then the shadow that is cast by the earth is then kind of giving us that eerie, kind of deep red color. And then a lot of us go ooh and ah when we catch it. So the people in Asia, including India and China, they were kind of having the best place to see the total lunar eclipse last night. It was also visible, though, on the eastern edge of Africa, as well as in Western Australia. So it did last for about an hour and 20 minutes, and they were really able to enjoy it. But coming across the Americas, did kind of miss out on some of the conditions for us to see it here. But the moon appears red because it's just that limited sunlight that's kind of going through Earth's atmosphere. So that's why we're not able to get a good look at it. But you are going to see just some interesting video. It's always kind of fun to see what these look like, maybe even a little bit eerie at times. But of course, you don't need glasses to see this one. All you need is some clear skies. So they had some nice weather and kind of being in the right spot to get a good look at this. Now, there is going to be some future lunar eclipse and also some solar eclipse as well. I want to pull up that data. So as far as how we are concerned here in mid-Michigan, our next total lunar eclipse is going to be March 3rd, 2026. And that will only be a partial, actually, for us. But it is going to be a total lunar eclipse for folks into Alaska, and also into parts of Washington, Western Canada as well. So they're going to have a little more excitement rather than what we are going to see here into the Great Lakes state. But also there is going to be a partial solar eclipse that we may be able to get a little bit of a decent look at as we go into August 12th of 2026. But yeah, look at that, little bit beautiful once that was starting to wrap up. As I was mentioning, so the solar eclipse, that partial solar eclipse, going to get a little bit of a look of that here. It's only going to cover a small portion of the sun. You will need glasses for that. Again, that's going to be August 12th, 2026. And then there is going to be a partial lunar eclipse on August 28th, 2026. So it sounds like we need to mark our calendars for next year in August, as we are going to have some fun space happenings. So we are going to see that that partial lunar eclipse is going to be coming across the Americas. So we'll get a pretty good look at that. And actually here, the next total lunar eclipse that is going to happen in March. Again, we're not going to be seeing the full coverage of it, but that's about 176 days away. So in case you were counting, that is some of the space stuff that we are looking at here as far as those eclipses are concerned. But we are going to still see that we have conditions that hopefully are clear for us to take a good look at what those conditions would be for us. So always hoping for some clear skies when we have an eclipse happening, whether it's a solar or lunar eclipse. And another final thing that I do want to check in with you is going to be the Hurricane Center. So far, it's been a little bit quieter as of late, and as we look at the Atlantic forecast from the National Hurricane Center, you will see that there's no disturbances currently. So we don't have the conditions right now for that to really get going, but you will see in the Eastern Pacific, you have probably heard about Hurricane Kiko. So that is going to be coming across closer towards Hawaii. And then you'll see that we have the secondary disturbance that's going to be coming just south of Mexico. So we'll see how well that those can get developed and moved. It's been a little more active in the Eastern Pacific rather than what we've seen in the Atlantic so far this season. But of course, we are keeping an eye to Kiko. It is anticipated to weaken as it gets closer towards the northern portions of Hawaii. So it doesn't look like it will make direct landfall into the state, but we are going to still see that its tropical storm winds are going to be possible. So we will be, of course, keeping an eye to see if it tries to make any kind of small adjustment further south, but we're happy to see that that should not make direct impact or landfall to the state. And as it gets closer, though, it should weaken towards a tropical storm. So we're happy to see that it's at least a little more of a manageable forecast there when we're talking about the hurricane. Now, we are still going to be looking at our corn crop. That's going to be coming up tomorrow. We'll also have a look at the forecast, keeping an eye to the weekend conditions if you have some plans. So we are going to see that we still have yet a lot to keep an eye to here for the next couple of days. So even though the forecast is quiet, make sure you're staying with us. As I had mentioned, if you do have those weekend plans, download the First Alert Weather app, because we'll have some updates there. I also have a camera tour there. You'll also get the drought monitor there on Thursdays. So there's a lot of helpful tools that come out on the app. So if you don't have that yet, make sure that you get that downloaded onto your devices. It is a free download, and it is on Google Play or the Apple App Store, depending if you're on an Apple or Android device. So make sure that you get that on your cell phone so that you can stay connected with your First Alert Weather team. But thank you so much for joining me here this afternoon. Hopefully we'll see you back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.